For decades, Dave Mustaine was the driving force behind one of metal's most legendary bands, Megadeth. But now, in a move no one saw coming, he's officially calling it quits. Fans are shocked. The stage has gone silent. What happened? Why now? And what does this mean for the future of metal itself? This isn't just the end of a band, it's the end of an era. Dive into the raw truth behind Mustaine's powerful decision and the final chapter of Megadeth's legacy. When Dave Mustaine made the announcement, the metal world stopped. After over 40 years of thunderous riffs, blistering solos, and rebellious energy, Megadeth was calling it a day. Not with a whisper, but with a roar. Their final studio album is coming in 2026, and with it, a massive global farewell tour. For fans who followed them from the gritty clubs of the 80s to stadiums around the world, this feels like the end of a personal era. Megadeth isn't just another band. To many, they're the soundtrack of youth, rebellion, and raw passion. Hearing that it's all coming to a close hit hard. Even though Mustaine made it clear, this isn't meant to be a sad goodbye, it's a celebration. Mustaine's words were full of reflection and pride. He spoke not like a rock star chasing one more hit, but like a man content with the journey he's taken. He said that most musicians don't get to go out on their own terms. Accidents happen, voices fade, bands fall apart. But here he is, still strong, still focused, and still in control. He's not walking away because he's burnt out or broken. He's walking away because the time feels right. He wants the band to end with dignity, with purpose, and on a high note. Megadeth's final chapter doesn't feel like a funeral, it feels like a final victory lap, a moment to look back on everything they've accomplished and thank the fans who've been there through the chaos. From the early days of Killing Is My Business to the modern punch of the sick, the dying, and the dead, their legacy spans generations. This final album, produced again by Chris Rakestraw, promises to capture that same fire that's kept them relevant for decades. And knowing Mustaine's perfectionist streak, you can bet he's going to make sure the last record leaves a lasting mark. The farewell tour is another major part of this goodbye. It won't be just one quick leg and done, it's being planned as a global celebration. A proper farewell that hits the cities and countries that made Megadeth what they are. For fans who've never seen them live, this might be the last chance. And for those who have, it's one more chance to scream the words, bang their heads, and soak up the power of a band that helped define a genre. This tour is going to be emotional, explosive, and unforgettable. Mustaine also hinted at a memoir, which feels perfectly timed. After years of letting the music speak, he's ready to tell his story in his own words. And considering the journey he's had, from getting kicked out of Metallica to building one of the most respected metal bands in the world, it's a story worth telling. It's a story about survival, redemption, and doing things your way, even when the odds are stacked against you. When Mustaine said, "We changed the world," he wasn't being dramatic. Megadeth didn't just make music. They inspired a movement. They pushed technical boundaries, stood firm in their message, and stayed true to themselves even when trends shifted. That's why this farewell hits so hard. It's not just the end of a band, it's the end of a force. But like Dave said, don't be mad, don't be sad. Come celebrate, sing the songs, raise your fists, remember what this band meant to you. Because it's not just Megadeth's final chapter. It's a moment for all of us to say thank you and goodbye. Dave Mustaine's announcement about Megadeth's final album and farewell tour didn't just shock the metal world. It made people stop and ask one big question. Why now? For decades, Mustaine has been the face of Megadeth. His guitar playing, songwriting, and attitude have shaped the band into one of the most important acts in heavy metal history. He's weathered storms, personal, professional, and even physical, and always came back swinging. So, after all this time, why would he choose to step away now, when Megadeth is still strong and their last album did so well? The answer lies in something deeper than album sales or tour schedules. It's about reflection, legacy, and the power of choosing your own ending. In his message to fans, Mustaine didn't sound like a man who was giving up. He sounded like someone who's been doing this for a long time and is finally ready to slow down. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. He talked about how most artists don't get the chance to walk away on their own terms. Too many are forced out by illness, tragedy, or simply fading interest. But not Dave. He's still got the fire, but he's also got the wisdom to recognize when the moment is right to say goodbye. He's spent over 40 years on the road, in studios, and under stage lights. That kind of life takes its toll on the body, the mind, and relationships. Touring the world, night after night, year after year, isn't just physically exhausting. It can leave you feeling like you're always running, always performing, never just existing. Dave has earned the right to rest. And more than that, he's earned the right to step back and take a breath, while he's still proud of what Megadeth is doing. Another part of Mustaine's decision comes down to perspective. In recent years, he's gone through serious health battles. In 2019, he was diagnosed with throat cancer, and while he beat it, showing incredible strength and resilience, the experience clearly changed him. Facing something that serious forces you to reevaluate your priorities. It makes you think about time differently. Not just how much of it you have, but how you're spending it. That brush with mortality didn't weaken Dave's spirit. If anything, it sharpened his focus. But it also made him realize he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life chasing something he's already achieved. He's built a legacy. Megadeth is one of the big four. He's released countless albums, played to millions of fans, and written some of the most iconic songs in metal history. There's nothing left to prove. And instead of running the band until the wheels fall off, he's choosing to end the ride while it's still rolling strong. He's also thinking about the fans. In his statement, Mustaine made it clear that this farewell isn't about sadness, it's about celebration. He wants to give fans one last great album, one last epic tour, and a chance to say goodbye properly. So many legendary bands disappear without warning or fall apart behind closed doors. Dave doesn't want that. He wants this ending to feel right. He wants fans to feel included, respected, and appreciated. That's why he's not just vanishing, he's inviting everyone to come along for the final ride. There's something powerful about walking away at the top. And Mustaine knows it. He's seen countless bands drag things out too long. He's watched artists chase relevance and end up sounding like a shadow of their former selves. He doesn't want Megadeth to end like that. He wants the band to go out with fire, not fade away into the background. That's why this new album is so important. It's not just another release. It's a final statement, a chance to put a bold exclamation point on everything they've built over the decades. Dave's also talked about how grateful he is for everything Megadeth has given him. The fans, the success, the chance to live out his dream. But part of gratitude is knowing when to close a chapter with respect. He's not bitter, he's not burned out, he's simply ready. And that clarity is rare in this industry. Too many artists hold on because they're afraid of what comes next. But Mustaine, he's already looking ahead. To rest, to peace, to new creative projects that don't require the weight of a global tour or the pressure of carrying an entire band. He's also working on a memoir, which makes perfect sense. After years of letting the music do the talking, he's ready to share the full story. Not just the highs and lows of Megadeth, but his personal journey, from being kicked out of Metallica to building a new legacy from scratch. That kind of reflection takes time, and stepping away from the band gives him the space to finally explore those memories and put them into words. And maybe the most important reason he's stepping away now is because he knows how much the band means to people. He wants fans to remember Megadeth as great, not tired, not forced, but great. By choosing to bow out with purpose, he's protecting that legacy. He's ensuring that the final image of Megadeth is one of strength, energy, and love for the music. So, why now? Because now is the moment where everything aligns. The timing, the mindset, the heart. Dave Mustaine isn't leaving because he's lost something. He's leaving because he's gained something. Peace, perspective, and the power to choose his own ending. And in the end, maybe that's the most metal move of all. When Dave Mustaine announced that Megadeth's next album would be their last and that they'd be launching a farewell tour, it hit fans like a thunderclap. For over 40 years, Megadeth has been a cornerstone of heavy metal. They've weathered storms, lineup changes, drama, and shifting musical trends, and they always came back louder, faster, and more determined. But now, they're preparing to take their final bow, and with that, they're planning to do it in the only way they know how, with power, intensity, and heart. The final album, set to release in 2026, is not just another studio project. It's a closing chapter to a long and legendary story. Dave Mustaine has made it clear that this record isn't about nostalgia or phoning it in. It's about leaving a lasting impression, one that encapsulates everything Megadeth has stood for since the beginning. According to Mustaine, this album is being crafted with a deep sense of purpose. He wants it to be something fans will play for years to come, not because it's their last, but because it's that good. They're working once again with producer Chris Rackstraw, the same producer behind 2016's Dystopia and 2022's The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead, both of which were critical successes. Those albums proved that Megadeth still had it, the riffs, the aggression, the songwriting chops. By bringing Rackstraw back, the band is signaling they're aiming to continue that high level of quality. This isn't about coasting on past achievements, it's about pushing forward one final time. Musically, fans can expect something fierce. Megadeth has never been a band to mellow out with age. Their most recent records were fast, intricate, and full of fire. Mustaine has said they're digging deep into their thrash roots while still bringing in modern production and songwriting evolution. He wants this album to feel like a culmination of their early fury, their mid-career mastery, and their recent resurgence. The current lineup recording this album is solid and seasoned. Alongside Mustaine on vocals and guitar is longtime bassist James Lomenzo, powerhouse drummer Dirk Verburen, and the newest addition, guitarist Teemu Montasari. Teemu joined the band in recent years after Kiko Loureiro stepped back to focus on family. Despite being a newer face, Teemu has been fully embraced by fans. His technical skill and on-stage chemistry have made him a key part of this final era. This lineup has been clicking, and that chemistry is going to be crucial to capturing lightning in a bottle one last time. As for the songs themselves, Mustaine hasn't released titles or lyrics yet, but he's hinted that the themes will be big. Endings, reflection, defiance, all the things Megadeth has stood for over the years. This album won't be a soft goodbye. It's meant to hit hard, emotionally and sonically. Expect sharp guitar work, biting lyrics, thunderous drums, all the elements that have made Megadeth a metal giant. But the album is just one part of the send-off. What's coming next is what fans around the world have dreamed about, a global farewell tour. This tour won't be rushed. Mustaine said it will likely last several years, giving them time to visit every major region and perform for the fans who've supported them since the start. The plan is to make it massive, not just club shows or scattered dates, but a full-scale celebration of Megadeth's career. The setlists will likely cover every era, from Killing Is My Business to Dystopia and the new album. It's going to be an emotional ride. Expect pyro, massive visuals, and a sense of finality. This won't be just another tour. It'll be the last time these songs are played live by the band that created them. That gives every show a special weight. Fans will be there not just to mosh or headbang, they'll be there to say goodbye. And the band knows it. That's why they're putting so much into planning it right. There's also talk of potential guest appearances. Fans are already wondering if past members like David Ellefson might return for one last performance. While nothing is confirmed, Mustaine hasn't ruled anything out. He's focused on giving fans the best experience possible, and he understands the emotional value of reunions. Even if it's just for one night, having former bandmates share the stage would be a moment to remember. On top of that, Mustaine is releasing a memoir to coincide with the album and tour. This will give fans a deeper look into the Megadeth journey, the triumphs, the breakdowns, the behind-the-scenes stories that shape their music. It's a way to connect even more during this final chapter. For Mustaine, this isn't just an ending, it's a full-circle moment. He wants fans to be part of it all, not just as spectators but as part of the legacy. There's also something poetic about ending on a high note. Megadeth's last album, charted high, was praised by critics and brought in new generations of fans. Most bands don't get that kind of resurgence after 4 decades. But Mustaine isn't waiting for the decline. He's choosing to go out with power and pride, before the edge dulls or the fire fades. That's a rare kind of self-awareness in the music industry. The farewell tour will likely include stops in the US, South America, Europe, Asia, and beyond. Everywhere the band has ever had a stronghold, they're going back. It's a thank you, a celebration, and a final toast to the legacy they've built. There may even be special setlist changes depending on the country, deep cuts for longtime fans, and unreleased surprises tied to the new album. It's not hard to imagine the final Megadeth show being a major global event. The last time Dave Mustaine steps onto a stage as Megadeth's frontman will be historic. For the fans who followed them since the 80s, for the kids who discovered them last year, for the musicians they inspired, this farewell will be one for the ages. In the end, the last album and farewell tour aren't about sadness. They're about legacy. About choosing your own ending. About giving everything one last time, not because you have to, but because you want to. And when Megadeth plays their final notes, it won't just be the end of a band. It'll be the end of an era, one built on speed, fury, and the determination of a man who refused to be forgotten. Dave Mustaine is writing the final verse, and he's making sure it's loud. The legacy of Megadeth is one that can't be summed up in just chart positions or album sales. It's a legacy built on grit, rebellion, and musical mastery that helped shape the entire sound of heavy metal. For over 4 decades, Megadeth stood as one of the 4 pillars of thrash metal, alongside Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax. They didn't just follow trends, they made them. And now, as the band prepares for their farewell, fans and critics alike are beginning to fully understand just how massive their impact has been. From the very start, Megadeth was different. They weren't about radio hits or chasing commercial success. They were technical, fast, aggressive, and unapologetically raw. Dave Mustaine, the band's founder, poured every ounce of frustration, ambition, and hunger into the music. After being kicked out of Metallica in the early 80s, he had a point to prove, not just to the world, but to himself. And prove it he did. The debut album, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, set the tone. It was fast, brutal, and incredibly complex for its time. Then came Peace Sells. But Who's Buying? Which catapulted them to the next level. That bass line from Peace Sells became iconic, used everywhere from MTV bumpers to commercials. It wasn't just metal anymore, it was culture. But what really cemented Megadeth's place in music history was Rust in Peace. That album is still considered a gold standard in metal. It showed that heavy music could be both ferocious and sophisticated. The riffs, the solos, the lyrics, everything was sharpened to perfection. It wasn't angry noise. It was organized chaos, led by a mastermind who knew exactly what he was doing. Over the years, the band continued to evolve. Albums like Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia, Cryptic Writings, and Dystopia showed that Megadeth could adapt without losing their core. They experimented with different sounds, worked with new producers, changed lineups, and still managed to keep their identity. Not many bands can say that. Their influence stretches far beyond the stage. Generations of metal musicians cite Megadeth as their reason for picking up a guitar. Mustaine's riffs became exercises for young shredders around the world. Drummers studied their rhythm changes. Bassists chased that punchy, aggressive tone. Megadeth didn't just make music. They built a blueprint. Their lyrics, too, were different. While many metal bands stuck to dark fantasy or gore, Megadeth often tackled politics, war, corruption, addiction, and personal demons. They held up a mirror to the world and dared their fans to look deeper. Songs like Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, Symphony of Destruction, and Tornado of Souls weren't just headbangers. They were statements. And then there's the personal journey of Dave Mustaine. His story alone is part of Megadeth's legacy. From rock bottom to recovery, from being an outcast to a leader. He's lived a life worthy of a dozen documentaries. He battled addiction, survived cancer, faced endless criticism, and yet somehow kept moving forward. That kind of resilience inspired fans just as much as the music did. Now, as the final chapter approaches, fans are left asking, what comes next? For the band, this isn't about disappearing completely. Mustaine has hinted that even after Megadeth retires from recording and touring, there may still be some music projects in the works. Whether it's guest appearances, collaborations, or producing, it's hard to imagine him putting down the guitar forever. Music runs through his veins. There's also his upcoming memoir, which promises to shed light on the parts of his life fans have never seen. That book will no doubt spark new conversations about his legacy and influence, and it may introduce Megadeth to a whole new audience, who only know Mustaine as the guy from Metallica. For the fans, the farewell tour and final album offer something precious: closure. Not every band gets to go out on their own terms. Too often, we see great acts fade away without warning or implode due to drama. Megadeth is doing it differently. They're giving their followers a chance to celebrate, to say goodbye, to scream the lyrics one last time at the top of their lungs. And what about the future of thrash metal? Some might say that with Megadeth stepping down, a hole will be left in the genre. And that's true, but holes can also be spaces for growth. Their retirement could serve as a wake-up call for the next generation of metal bands. It's a reminder that the torch needs to be carried forward, not copied, but evolved. Young bands today look to Megadeth not just for their sound, but for their spirit. That DIY energy, that fearless attitude, that unshakable will, Those are lessons no music school can teach. And it's that influence that will continue to ripple through the metal scene for years to come. There's also the cultural impact. Megadeth wasn't just a band that played fast and loud. They challenged norms, spoke out, and encouraged critical thinking. They made fans feel like they were part of something bigger, not just music, but a movement, a mindset, a metal family that stretched across the globe. And let's not forget the visuals. Vic Rattlehead, the iconic mascot, is as recognizable as any band logo in rock history. That skull fade symbol became a badge of honor for fans. You wore it on your shirt, your backpack, your guitar case. It was more than an image, it was an identity. Even now, as the farewell nears, Vic isn't being retired, he's still on the artwork, still part of the message. That speaks volumes about how carefully the band is honoring their legacy. They're not throwing it away. They're wrapping it up with the respect it deserves. In the end, Megadeth's legacy is about more than music. It's about endurance, about standing tall through every storm, about fighting for your vision even when others try to tear it down. Dave Mustaine and his band built something that lasted over 40 years in an industry where most acts burn out in 10. That's not luck. That's power, passion, and persistence. As fans prepare for that final album and the last tour, they're not just buying tickets, they're closing a chapter of their lives too. For many, Megadeth was there during tough times, good times, teenage years, adulthood. Saying goodbye is hard, but it's also beautiful. Victoria. Victoria goodbye, because Megadeth didn't fade away. They chose their moment. They left on top. And that in itself is the ultimate encore. Whatever comes next, whether it's solo projects, new ventures, or simply peace, the legacy is sealed. It's in the riffs, the records, the memories, and the millions of fans who will keep the music alive long after the amps are unplugged. Megadeth may be ending, but what they created, that's forever.